I wish it was overcast because I'd really like to make fun of you.
Yet here we are.
David?
Like David Moore, Dallas Morning News. You're very well acquainted with Barr, having played in that division. Talk about picking him up and what it allows you to do with Micah going forward.
Well, you know, Anthony's he's actually here. I had a chance to see him earlier in the training room, so he's still going through the medical process. So I don't have anything final to report, but exciting player. Always a challenge competing against him. So I think he'd be an excellent fit for us.
For Star Telegram, how does he fit with Micah? And does he allow you to use Micah more as the pass rusher? Or?
Well, I think, you know, when you look at packages, you know, and how we feature Micah, I think it gives you another weapon, you know, and another excellent player both on and off the ball. So I think when you get in and out of packages, as you build your system for a 17-game season, you know, I know the defensive staff is really excited to have another piece.
Dallas Morning News. How do you look at that linebacker room now with the addition of Barr now?
Well, let's make sure we get to the final part. But like I said, I think he's a good fit, and he gives us a lot of flexibility, you know, to get in and out of the defensive personnel as a both on the ball and off the ball player.
Mike McCarthy, Dallas Morning News. Fair to say he won't practice today because nothing's been finalized.
Yeah, it hasn't been final yet. So I mean, really can't move past that until we get past the medical part. I mean, it's a normal process of physical and so they're still working through that. I just checked with them before I came in, and they're not done yet.
John Machado, The Athletic. What's the update with Jabril Cox and his knee?
I mean, Jabril coming off of the major injury, just being smart. I mean, this is part of the plan for him. I mean, he's doing good. It's not anything to worry about. But we're going to hold him today, and then he's scheduled to practice again on Saturday.
In the middle. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio. John stole my question about Jabril. But now, what do you have planned coming up in terms of the kicking? Are you still planning to giving them more reps, and how do you see that going?
Definitely. We're going to kick them right after stretch again today. So we'll have a kicking segment today, and there's a very high probability that they'll be part of the mojo moment today.
Mike Ducey from Fox 4. What's the biggest change you've seen in Dak in the time you've been working with him?
Biggest change in Dak, I think just the consistency of growth. You know, I think he does a phenomenal job both, in season and off season. I think he's really built a tremendous network around him. You know, as far as his personal coaches and just being on the same page and growing, with us as a coaching staff. And this offense is, from day one is designed to build around him. And I just see him improving at every turn, in every aspect of quarterback play.
Mike, Todd Archer, the ESPN. You've talked before about elite players bring other guys along and make them better. How does Dak do that beyond the off the field and leadership stuff with the on the field? How does he make guys better?
Well, I think if you just watch the way he interacts, during practice too. Obviously, the competitive part of it is the most important for all of our players. He sets the tempo, pace of operation, command, all those little things he's excellent at. But it's important. To compete and perform at a high level. So he's definitely in that realm. But it's the post-snap conversations and the little things. I think that's all part of the maturation of your offense, of your quarterback with the perimeter guys, especially the younger players. I think he does a really, really good job of that.
Hi, Mike. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Assuming that the Anthony Barr deal becomes official, how do you, from a coaching standpoint, integrate a guy like that, four-time Pro Bowler, into your process without potentially sacrificing reps for a guy like Jabril Cox, who's expected to be an impact player this year?
Well, I think it's just like anything. It's the definition of rules, and it's just not like we line up with 11 players, and I think we all understand that. It's a long year. There's a lot of different packages. This game is so much about matchups and have the ability to move players around. From an offensive perspective, if there's players that you're concerned about on the defensive side of the ball, and I know just personally competing against Anthony, he was always a challenge for us, particularly in protection and and just because of his flexibility playing on the ball inside and, off the ball inside and off the ball as a rusher and so forth. So we always had to be very, very conscious of the matchup that you had with him. So I think anytime you have a player that brings matchup capability it's a real asset for us to be, because we want to be multiple in our defensive packages, and we want to, continue to develop different rush plans, and he's a great fit for us.
Brad Sham, Odyssey Broadcasting, Cowboys Radio Network. I know you're concentrating on today's practice, but as you get ready to go through the weekend, are you more interested in seeing guys practice on Thursday against the Broncos or play in the game Saturday night?
Brad, why the hell did you ask me that question?
Larry minds want to know.
What's the medical depth chart? I guess it would really be the answer to that. Obviously there's a lot of work that goes into that as far as being coordinated, with the Broncos, and had a chance to visit with Coach Staley again last night. So talking through the Chargers plan, and so we definitely want to have a plan of playing your ones as much as we can against each other, but we're just not there yet. Like today, my focus today, frankly, we have 3 running backs today. So in the team meeting, that I have to cover, because we want the competitive spirit that we had on Tuesday. But the same breath, we can't, the physicality at the end of the play of stripping and so forth. We got to be smart with our running back group. So those are the kind. I'm not trying to avoid the question. So that's kind of where we are. Our tight end group and our running back group is the stress point for today, and this is normal training camp process.
Fox Sports, the Barr situation, I know y'all, it's not finalized, but it reminds me of Malik Hooker last year a little bit, in the sense that talked to him in the spring a little bit and got the ball rolling once you got to camp. I'm just curious, is it more about just it's easier to get those talks started once camp starts, or is it evaluating the guys that you had in camp? Just kind of what's the thought process that helps it happen once you get out here?
I think that's a very good comparable. There's a lot of conversation, in the length of the conversation is comparable to Malik, but I think just like anything, when you have a veteran player coming from a different team, and there's a medical threshold you have to get through and so forth. So that's why we're working through it right now today, and obviously from the player's perspective too. There's other opportunities, and especially a veteran Pro Bowl player like Anthony. He knows his body, and he knows where he is, and so there's just a lot that plays into that on both sides.
Right here. Tim Kalishaw, around the horn, 509 wins. Going back
What?
to Parsons.
509.
Second. I'm never gonna be
What is around the horn?
back to Parsons. As good as he is as
What is that?
as good as he is as a linebacker. There's such a premium on the other position, on the other skill, rushing, passing. Those are the guys who get paid. Does that make it hard to see him as anything more than playing that a lot of the time?
Linebacker? I'm still thinking of the 509 wins. I was trying to count how many wins I had. I don't even know, but
Do you know what around the horn is?
So he's really good at linebacker.
Yeah.
The other skill is, in a way, so much more important. They can people rushing and passing. Does that put a premium on using him at that, either a lot of the time or most of the time?
Yeah, definitely. I think the way we do it is obviously when he's playing the linebacker position, or if he's playing the open end position, obviously how many times when he plays open end is he aligned on the line of scrimmage and has rush responsibility, and he still has a low percentage of time where he has coverage responsibility. But also if you watch him at linebacker, particularly first and second down, there's so many 5-man fronts in football because of the run defense in sub personnel. So his ability to play clear across the line from a linebacker position, but on the line responsibility. So what I'm saying is, I think last year he was linebacker 60%, 40% open end, but that's not that doesn't equate to, I don't have the number in my head of how many times as a linebacker he lined up on the end of the last scrimmage. So at the end of the day, it is about what responsibility you give him, and he needs to be on the line of scrimmage, obviously for or at least going after the football. I mean, I think we all recognize that, but his ability to play linebacker is obviously a gift. And let's not forget, I mean, just to play the other day, him and Tony Pollard, cranking it at 21 mile an hour. I mean, there's, his ability to make plays on the second level is definitely a huge asset for our offense. But I definitely recognize his rush ability.
Situation at running back, this is our first chance of camp to ask you just kind of about the COVID procedures. How are you guys handling this situation to kind of contain it as best as possible?
I think we're fortunate. We have an excellent point man on this, and I'm talking about Jim Mauer, our head trainer. I mean, I've been through a lot of these conversations, whether it's Zoom calls and, around the league. And Jim does a great job of staying on top of the protocols and what's out there, the trends and patterns. And so, I mean, the communication that he has and relationship, he's done it forever. He speaks in the team meetings on a regular basis. So, I mean, it's definitely obviously something that we're very conscious of and have a plan of how to deal with it. And I give a lot of credit to Jim.
Joe Trahan, WFAA TV. I know we're still relatively early in camp in terms of having the pads on, Coach, but how would you evaluate that right side of the defensive end with Fowler and towards Armstrong? Sam, what do you see so far?
Well, just the point you're making, I love the depth of it. I love the flexibility of it. I think as you continue to go through these installs, whether it's, the NASCAR package, the ability to get in and out of different personnel groups, I think those guys are all have established, a premier role. But, is it just third down? But, hey, what is that role going to be on first and second down? So I think they're off to a really good start. And I just think, like anything in pass rush, the rotation is critical. I mean, you like to, at the end of this thing, be able to make sure you have at least 6 rushers, six guys that can put their hand in the dirt.
What do you need to see from the rookie?
I just need to continue to grow. I mean, it's, we're still in the install phase. So I just want to see him go through all the installs and have a clean understanding. The technique and that part's always the last to come. It's normal. But what I want to see him, I want to see him handle the volume. Because, we ask a lot of our defensive front. I mean, this is not a, line up in one front and play, vertical football. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of recognition. There's line call and adjustments. So, we're trying to win the pre-snap, on both sides of the ball. So, so the install, the mental part of it is a challenge, especially for a young guy.
Mike, Rob Phillips, DallasCowboys.com. Just your thought process on flipping practice days, Friday and Saturday.
To be honest with you, it's something I probably should have done in the initial part of it. Frankly, our GPS was so high coming out of the second practice, and I just felt that I needed to flip it. So this was clearly based off of workload capacity. I thought our guys really cranked it, and so I didn't want to lose the fourth practice or diminish the fourth practice. So that's why we flipped it with the regen day.
Mike, quick question and a quick follow on when the players in COVID and they're quarantined. How do they handle the day? Do they still join the meetings via Zoom? Do they
virtual.
tape?
Yeah, we go to a virtual format, and I think this is one of the things. I think we talked about this the other day. I mean, it's there's a lot that was there was a lot that was gained from the pandemic, and definitely virtual teaching and learning is one of them.
And any other players like Cox, not COVID related, but just you won't work them today because of GPS where they are of the.
Yeah, Jabril's more about the plan, coming off his rehab. So, I think Britt does a tremendous job, not only in the rehab, but, also post entry when these guys get back in. So, I mean, we don't just run them till they go. I mean, we're in tune with his workload each day, and we're just being smart.
I can't even think. First round pick. How's he been? Tyler Smith, mine has gone blank. But
understood.
Listen,
I heard you had a hell of a night. That's understood.
I did just anyway. How's he been since the pads come on? Have you seen his physicality?
Definitely, Tyler. I mean, I think it was obvious, just not only from his play style at Tulsa, but when he was going to show up when the pads come on. So he's everything we thought he would be physically, powerful. He's had some impressive things, but he's just like all of our linemen. I mean, these guys. This is their third practice to really practice the right way, the technique, and so forth. But a little bit like the Sam Williams question. I mean, just to get through all the installs, see him handle that. I like the reps, distribution that he's getting there. So he's off to a good start.
Mike, what was the influence Paul Hackett on you, and when did you first start getting around Nathaniel?
Well, I mean, 1989, Paul Hackett's, clearly one of my mentors, made a huge impact on my, professional career and even personally. So I have a tremendous amount of love for the Hackett family. Spent a lot of time with Nathaniel. It was a privilege to watch him grow up. He was in his grade school when I first met the Hacketts, back in 1989. So I think we're together 9 years. So I got to watch the young man grow from grade school through high school and go off to college, and just really excited for him, really proud of him, and he's a phenomenal football coach. I think his energy and intelligence and just the amount of work that he's put into it, and obviously, I think the world of Paul, and I know I can't tell you how excited Paul and Elizabeth are for Nathaniel's opportunity.
Was he always around practice, ball boy, things like that, in the meetings?
Yeah, definitely. He was pretty much around. Yeah, he was around. He was a head coach's kid at at Pitt, and and then Kansas City. Marty was great having the families around. So yeah, he was obviously around football his whole life.
We're going to wrap it up over here on this side.
Newey Scruggs, NBC5 Dallas. Dan Quinn came out yesterday, spoke to us, and he said he told you that he wanted you to know that he was going to look out around the corner for you and that you'd have to worry about him. So wanted to know the relationship that you two have and the confidence that you guys have. And he basically wanted to say, hey, look, I'm looking out for Mike.
Yeah, I have a tremendous amount of love for Dan. I've always enjoyed competing against him, but shortly after his time in Atlanta, we had a lot of conversations of what that time off looked like. And then having the opportunity for him to come to Dallas, it's been everything I thought it would be, and then some. So, that's really the facts of the matter. At the end of the season, we were talking way before the opportunities that were presented to him, and I just think once again he's very happy. He's very comfortable in Dallas, and I'm glad he's here. And it's not only a professional relationship, but it's a personal relationship that I put a lot of value in. So and that's just really the facts of the matter.
All right, we'll wrap it up.
Wrap it up, or are we done?
One more.
Oh, one more? Okay.
Talk about Dak making guys better. In general, does that happen organically for quarterbacks, or some quarterbacks they can do it instantly?
Well, a lot of it is their personality, and it's just like anything in this game. At every position, and especially at the quarterback position. It's a natural leadership position, but it just doesn't mean you're a leader. So it's something that he's very. He has as much natural leadership ability of anybody I've ever been around. So I think, but with that, to watch him exercise it and grow, and one thing about the National Football League, it's not like the 90s. You may have the same locker room, pretty similar locker room for 4, 5, 6 years. That's not the case in today's game. Your locker room changes so much. Your 90-man roster changes so much. Your 53-man roster changes on an average from 20 to 25%. So that's real. That's part of his responsibility, and it has to show his versatility and his discipline of staying focused on that. And he does a hell of a job with it.
All right.
Thank you.